Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 249 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin carefully looked at the Thunder Lake Square and withdrew his gaze. Under the old man's guidance, they headed straight toward the eastern side of the Thunder Celestial Temple. From far away, Wang Lin saw a palace much larger than the others. It was like a giant beast that was lying there, and a pressure came from it before he even closed in. Several kilometers away from the hall, the old man stopped and smiled. "Fellow cultivator Shu, the lord of the temple only summoned you, so I can't accompany you. It will be fine if you enter by yourself." Wang Lin's gaze fell on the large hall several kilometers away. He turned toward the old man and said, "Senior, thank you for leading the way. I'm not any kind of senior. Since fellow cultivator Shu can be summoned by the lord of the temple, you will definitely not be merely a small fish in the pond. When that time comes, we should get to know each other better." The old man shook his head before he excused himself and left. Wang Lin carefully spread out his divine sense and flew forward. He gradually closed in on the main hall, and when he got near, he saw a person standing outside. Although the person's back was facing Wang Lin, that person was like a towering mountain. Master Flamespark. Wang Lin wasn't surprised. When he got close, he landed and clasped his hands. "Greetings, Senior Master Thunder Flame. Should I call you Master Demon Shu Mu or Wang Lin from the Alliance Star System?" Master Flamespark turned around and calmly looked at Wang Lin. When his gaze fell on Wang Lin, he was a bit surprised. "Nirvana Scryer? Good, very good." Wang Lin's expression was calm. He didn't panic when his identity was pointed out and calmly said, "Either Shu Mu or Wang Lin is fine. I believe Senior didn't call me here just to ask about my real name." Master Flamespark looked at Wang Lin and revealed a smile. There was a flash of admiration when he smiled. "Good, you are worthy of someone who is fated with this old man. I don't care if you are Wang Lin or Shu Mu. I want to ask you, are you willing to participate in the battle against the Alliance Star System?" Wang Lin silently pondered for a while and slowly said, "Junior's strength is meager, even if I participate, it won't matter much. A Nirvana Scryer cultivator like you dares to say your strength is meager?" Master Flamespark laughed, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Wang Lin silently pondered a little and nodded. "Since Senior Master Flamespark value me so much, then I'll participate in the war." Wang Lin had already decided this long ago in his heart. Since he came to participate in the 108 Celestial Title competition, he would be forced to get involved in the battle with the Alliance Star System. "Good. Keep the token I gave you safe. It might be of great use to you in the future. It can also be considered the fortune I originally promised you." Master Flamespark waved his sleeve and a gust of wind suddenly appeared before Wang Lin. There was a flash of light and a transfer array appeared. "Leave with this transfer array. In 3 days, this old man will personally go watch the competition along with some friends. Your senior apprentice brother, Qing Shui, will also go." With that, Master Flamespark turned around and walked into the hall. Wang Lin looked at Master Flamespark and calmly said, "Senior Master Flamespark, can you return Junior's Thunder Beast? Once the passage is opened, I'll naturally return it to you." Master Flamespark's figure disappeared into the hall. Wang Lin silently pondered for a bit before he raised his foot and stepped into the transfer array. When he reappeared, he was in the outer hall next to the 4 transfer arrays. There was no one left. It was obvious they had all been taken to where they would stay. Just as Wang Lin appeared, he immediately turned around. There was a woman standing behind him. She was extremely beautiful, as if she was made of jade, and she was wearing a blue, water-patterned dress. "Is Senior Shu Mu?" Her voice was crisp and very pleasant to listen to. Wang Lin nodded. "Junior is Chen Shan and was ordered by Lord Messenger to wait for Senior. This is Senior's token for this celestial competition. As for your residence, the information is inside." Chen Shan's expression was respectful as she took out a token the size of her fist and handed it to Wang Lin. Then she hesitated and her face turned red and she softly said, "If Senior needs a cultivation furnace during cultivation, Senior can call Junior with the token. The Thunder Celestial Temple is willing to offer all the help needed for the participants of this competition." After she finished speaking, her face became even more red as she bowed and retreated. Her figure was very alluring, and when she left, she faintly revealed the charm under her dress. Wang Lin held up the token and scanned it with his divine sense. This object was like a piece of jade. It held a simple map of the Thunder Celestial Temple and an inactive transfer array. After finding his residence, Wang Lin headed straight there. 3 days of time passed by in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, Wang Lin cultivated with his eyes closed to keep himself at peak condition. The entire Thunder Celestial Temple became extremely lively when it was nearing noon of the 3rd day. Transfer arrays flashed non-stop as groups of cultivators arrived. There were a lot of viewers for this celestial title competition. First were the cultivators of the cultivation families from the main planets of each domain. They only had the qualifications to watch from the outer edge. Then it was the cultivation families that were above the families on the main planets but below the likes of the Yao family. They were families like the Shengong family and the Shan family. After them were the 4 great families with inheritances from the celestial realm. Last were the family members of the 2 cultivation families from ancient times that were hosting this competition along with the Thunder Celestial Temple. Although the number of cultivators viewing this competition was relatively low, there were still tens of thousands of them. The Thunder Celestial Temple had arranged numerous floating platforms, so the cultivators had places to sit. The battlefield for the celestial title was determined to be at the 10,000 feet wide Thunder Lake Square. Outside the square, there were more than 10 white pillars that gave off waves of celestial spiritual energy. Master Flames Park was sitting on a praying mat on top of one of the white pillars. Beside him sat Celestial Lord Qing Shui. His eyes were closed as if he had no interest in any of this. As more and more cultivators that came to observe appeared, the Xiong family ancestor appeared. He clasped his hands at Master Flames Park and sat down on the praying mat next to Master Flames Park. As the two talked, the man named Gongsun appeared wearing black and sat down. Shortly after, the Yao family and the other 3 families with inheritances from the celestial realm arrived. The person from the Yao family was Blood God. He arrived with the old monsters from the other 3 families and sat down on the praying mat. They didn't even look at Qing Shui. When the Shengong family and the Shan family arrived, the Shengong family ancestor and Li Yanzi each sat down on the praying mats one after the other. Shortly after, various ancestors of different cultivation families all arrived and sat down. When noon arrived, Master Flames Park's eyes lit up. He calmly said, "All Heaven Star System 108 Celestial Title Battle, begin." His voice turned into countless thunderclaps that echoed across the Thunder Celestial Temple. Countless transfer arrays appeared in the sky. They were all the same size, and one by one, cultivators appeared from within them. Wang Lin was included. Blood God raised his head and looked at Wang Lin with an eerie gaze. He let out a cold snort as he withdrew his gaze. His expression was gloomy. Aside from Blood God, there was another gaze from the crowd on the outside that landed on Wang Lin. 11 Zifeng bit her lower lip as she silently looked at Wang Lin in the sky. She let out a sigh and her eyes revealed a hint of confusion. Ever since she returned from the Thunder Celestial Realm, Wang Lin's figure remained in her heart. She couldn't get rid of his figure, and when she heard of Wang Lin being hunted by the Yao family, her heart trembled, but she had no way to help. Every day, she was in no mood to cultivate, but when she heard that Wang Lin had escaped, she was extremely happy. However, there was a thick sense of bitterness behind that joy. "I'm afraid he has already forgotten my name." 11 Zifeng was very beautiful, and she understood this very well. Many elites of various cultivation families had expressed their love for her. Even within her own family, her exceptional cousin, 11 Zimu, also expressed his admiration. However, she was extremely indifferent toward all of this and never even considered pair cultivation. Her dream was to be like her ancestor, to become a female cultivator with cultivation that could pierce the heavens. However, all of this changed when she met Wang Lin. Even she herself was confused. However, the shock her heart received when Wang Lin led hundreds of cultivators in a charge into the Thunder Celestial Temple's transfer array was something she couldn't forget. At first, 11 Zifeng thought that time would cause her to forget everything. However, when she saw him again, she bit her lower lip until it bled and she didn't notice. She stared at the figure that she wanted to get familiar with yet was so unfamiliar. Not far away from 11 Zifeng sat an old woman. She obviously wasn't eligible to sit on the praying mats, but she was the 11 family's ancestor. She frowned as she looked at 11 Zifeng and sighed. Ill-fated relationship. Wang Lin was in the air and was very calm while looking down at the cultivators from the All-Heaven Star system. In particular, he was looking at the people on the praying pads. Each of them had cultivation levels no lower than Blood Ancestors, and many of them far exceeded Blood Ancestor. When all 325 transfer arrays appeared, all the participants revealed themselves. Master Flamespark was calm as he slowly said, "This competition is divided into 3 trials, 6 paths, and 1 line to heaven. The 3 trials of heaven, earth, and human will test one's cultivation. The mysterious void 6 paths are the cycle of Tao. The 3 trials and 6 paths will select the 108 celestial titles. Then they will enter the life and death battle in 1 line to the heavens. The 36 with the most kills will be given the heaven celestial titles. They will also have their names left on the celestial bestowing stone." After he finished speaking, it set off a huge wave in the area. Even the people on the praying mats were shocked. Their gazes all locked onto Master Flamespark. Even the Xiong family ancestor and the man in black named Gongan were startled, and they looked at Master Flamespark. Even Celestial Lord Qing Shui's eyes widened. His eyes were extremely cold as he said, "Is it the celestial bestowing stone left behind by the ancient celestials?" Master Flamespark's voice was calm as he slowly said, "It is indeed that stone." The old man's eyes darkened a bit and he said, "Rumor has it that this stone is a relic from the ancient celestial realm. If one can leave their name on it, their soul can directly go into the ancient celestial realm that is rumored to have vanished. I didn't expect the celestial bestowing stone to be at the Thunder Celestial Temple." The middle-aged man named Gongsun opened and closed his eyes. Every time his eyes opened, light would shine out, and he calmly said, "Although the ancient celestial realm has disappeared, rumors were left behind, saying that countless years from now, the ancient celestial realm will reopen. When that happens, only the people whose names were left on the celestial bestowing stone will be allowed to go. Although it is only a rumor, it is the only clue left." The surroundings were completely quiet. Aside from a select few people, almost no one knew what the celestial bestowing stone was. However, after hearing what the old man named Xiong said, they all immediately understood the importance of this stone. However, there were many cultivators who didn't know what the ancient celestial realm was. They all looked at their family's ancestors. Master Flamespark calmly said, "The celestial bestowing stone shattered into countless fragments when the Thunder Celestial realm collapsed. My Thunder Celestial Temple didn't obtain it, so no need to think about this matter. It was when that senior captured the moon beast that he found me and gave me a piece the size of my fist." After he said this, all the old monsters on the praying mats became silent and no longer inquired about this matter. The 3 trials of heaven, earth, and human. The first trial is human. If you can withstand 10 breaths of time, then you pass. Russell, enter the Thunder Lake. Master Thunderspark's voice spread across the area, and a ray of green light closed in. The green light turned into a green-robed middle-aged man before everyone. This person clasped his hands at everyone and said, "As the Lord of the Temple orders." As he spoke, he descended toward the square. He stood on top of the square with his hand behind his back. There was a trace of pride in his calm expression. His appearance caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. There were naturally people who were aware of Russell's identity, and discussions began. The Thunder Celestial Temple's Russell. Rumor has it that he reached the mid-stage of Nirvana Scrya 300 years ago and that he has been in closed-door cultivation for 300 years and never appeared. I didn't expect him to be the gatekeeper for the human trial. This Russell is not simple, especially the change in his divine sense. Rumor has it that even some famous old monsters praise him. Bursts of discussion echoed throughout the area. Russell raised his head and looked up at the hundreds of juniors. He was calm as he said, "In my eyes, none of you are eligible to become the 108 Celestials, because killing you would be no more difficult than crushing ants. Now I'm going to point at one of you. Anyone I point at will come down." After Russell spoke, a majority of cultivators that came out from the transfer arrays looked gloomily at Russell. This was especially true for Shu Ting. His eyes flashed red, but he didn't speak. Russell didn't waste time and his right hand casually pointed at a cultivator from the northern domain. After the cultivator was pointed at, he hesitated for a moment, but it was that hesitation that caused Russell to let out a cold snort and his right hand reached out. A large hand appeared and rushed out so fast that even the surrounding cultivators could feel the wind. That large hand moved as fast as lightning and caught the cultivator in an instant. It mercilessly dragged the cultivator down and threw the cultivator to the side. The cultivator's expression immediately turned pale. His was only at the illusory yin stage, and after being grabbed by that large hand, he felt as if ice had entered his body and solidified his origin energy. Once he landed, he immediately sat down in the lotus position. Russell revealed his impatience. He didn't consider this so-called celestial title competition worthy of his time. If it wasn't for the fact that the Lord of the Temple had asked him personally, which meant that he couldn't refuse, he wouldn't have come to become the judge for the first trial. In addition, there was another reason why he became the judge for this trial. After dragging down the cultivator, the impatience in his eyes became even stronger. His divine sense spread out and the world changed colors. Russell's divine sense was extremely strange and could change shape. When it came out, a golden giant immediately appeared and a loud rumble echoed across the void. After the giant appeared, it rushed toward the cultivator that was sitting there. It was very fast and it closed in on the cultivator in only 3 steps. The golden giant raised its fist and threw it at the cultivator sitting there. This punch was still on its way when the cultivator's face turned deathly pale and his eyes became filled with terror. His clothes and hair were blown backward by the wind created by the punch. Wang Lin's eyes lit up like a torch as he stared at this scene. At the moment the golden giant's fist landed, the cultivator's body trembled and he coughed out blood. There was a blur when the cultivator's origin soul was knocked out. Terrified, the cultivator's origin soul quickly retreated. As Russell let out a cold snort, the golden giant withdrew its fist, took a few steps back, and stood next to Russell. "Trash, with your cultivation and mental strength, you're not qualified to participate in the celestial title competition. You're not qualified." The impatience in Russell's eyes became even stronger. He felt that testing this person was a waste of his time. That cultivator's origin soul turned to his body. He then looked at Russell with a pale expression and opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, in the end he didn't say anything and bowed. He sadly returned to the transfer array and in a flash disappeared. There was now one less from the original 325. Russell frowned as his gaze swept across the cultivators in the sky and he casually pointed at a person. The cultivator he pointed at clenched his teeth and rushed down. After landing in the square, the cultivator clasped his hands at Russell and respectfully said, "Senior, please enlighten me." Russell's expression became a bit softer, but he didn't speak. Then the golden giant stepped forward and used the same spell it used before. The cultivator clenched his teeth as his hand formed a seal and a white light covered his body to stop the golden giant. However, the white light immediately collapsed before the golden fist. The cultivator was pushed back, then he bit the tip of this tongue and spat out blood to block the fist. When the golden giant's fist landed on the blood mist, it caused a loud rumble. The blood mist immediately collapsed and the cultivator's face turned pale. His origin soul was more than halfway out of his body, but as he let out a cry of anguish, there was popping sound from his body and he pulled his origin soul back in. However, this was beyond his endurance. Although his origin soul had returned to his body, he became weakened. "Since you lasted for 10 breaths of time, you pass, but even though a piece of trash like you has passed, you will be eliminated in the next trial." Russell waved his sleeves and the cultivator's body was thrown into the air. The man's face was pale as he bowed at Russell. Then he returned to his transfer array and sat down to cultivate. Shortly after, one cultivator after another was pointed at by Russell. If they acted fast, it was fine, otherwise, they would be forcibly dragged down by Russell like the first person and would suffer injuries before the test even began. As cultivators landed one by one, the word trash was constantly thrown out. Even people who qualified couldn't help but be called trash by Russell. Russell gradually grew more impatient until it got to the point where the Golden Giant would throw a punch before the participant even landed. Time quickly passed. More than half of the cultivators had been tested and about 40% of them qualified. The man with 6 fingers, the big-headed boy, and Nangong Shan, who had high cultivation levels, all advanced. Only when testing them did Russell's expression soften a bit and he didn't call them trash. "You, come down." Russell pointed at a person in the sky. This person was Shu Ting from planet Dawn Lin. His eyes flashed red and he revealed a grim smile. Russell's eyes were cold as his right hand reached out and a large hand appeared. It charged directly at Shu Ting. As the hand closed, in Shu Ting's hands formed a seal. Black gas surrounded him and formed a devil-like being. The devil-like being let out a roar and entangled with the large hand. Shu Ting sneered as he rushed out. He wasn't going into the square just to be tested, and as he rushed out, he put his hands together and then separated them. Black gas came out from his hands and formed a black lance. A glint of cold flashed through Russell's eyes and then the Golden Giant rushed out toward Shu Ting. Shu Ting turned and gave up going toward Russell. Instead, he arrived next to the Golden Giant with one step and his spear stabbed forth. The Golden Giant swung its fist. However, just as the black lance was about to collide with the fist, the lance suddenly twisted. What was previously the head of the lance quickly turned into a strange, black snake with a slender body. After it opened its mouth, it became dozens of feet long. This scene was too out of place and it made the surrounding cultivators very serious. The snake's mouth opened and directly devoured the Golden Giant. When Wang Lin saw this, his pupils shrank. The Shu family's celestial spell, Snake Devour. The old man named Xiong nodded and his eyes became filled with admiration. Not bad, this Shu Ting is likely the strongest out of all the participants. One of the old men nodded and laughed. Not only them, but the surrounding cultivators had all learned about this celestial spell from their ancestors. One of the 4 great spells of the Shu family from planet Dawn Lin, Snake Devour. This is a very mysterious spell, so all of you should watch closely. This spell is called Snake Devour. If one meets a cultivator with lower cultivation level, then they can often directly devour the enemy and convert their power to your own. Celestial Lord Qing Shui was calm. He coldly looked at Shu Ting but didn't speak. Russell's eyes became even colder, but when he thought about the fact that this person was from planet Dawn Lin's Shu family, he suppressed his anger and coldly snorted. Qualified. After devouring the Golden Giant, Shu Ting laughed loudly and retreated with the black lance. After he returned to the transfer array, he looked at Wang Lin with a provoking gaze. Russell's expression was gloomy as he pointed at the remaining people in the sky. This time, his finger fell on Wang Lin. "You, come down." Russell's eyes lit up an indistinguishable amount. He already knew Wang Lin's face. The other reason he came to judge the first trial was Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm and he calmly walked down toward the square. As if Russell had felt that Wang Lin was too slow, he let out a cold snort and the huge hand reached toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned slightly. As the large hand headed over, it set off a huge gust. If he didn't dodge or resist, then even if he passed the human trial, he would be injured. Wang Lin wasn't someone who would allow others to bully him. His eyes turned cold and his third eye between his brows immediately opened. Red light came out from his eyes in a fan shape and immediately covered the giant hand. He didn't stop and continued to walk. As the red light covered the large hand, popping sounds came from the hand and it dissipated. Wang Lin landed on the square, clasped his hands at Russell and calmly said, "Please advise me." When Master Flamespark saw this, his eyes lit up. When he saw the red light, it was as if he had gained enlightenment. There was a hint of admiration in his gaze toward Wang Lin. This child actually has that kind of spell. Although the power is lacking, that spell contains a grand Tao. Qing Shui's eyes were calm as he took a glance at Wang Lin and then withdrew his gaze. Aside from those two, the other old men's eyes also lit up. Only Blood God's expression was gloomy and he sneered in his heart. Aside from them, only a few people were able to see what was extraordinary about the third eye. 11 Zifeng's ancestor let out a sigh and muttered, "This person is so young and yet he has such powerful cultivation. He is not simple." Russell became even more gloomy. Wang Lin's spell just now had shocked him a little. He stared at Wang Lin and his divine sense spread out. Golden Giant immediately appeared, emitting a harsh glow. After it appeared, it carried with it a force that could shake the origin soul and charged at Wang Lin. After 3 steps, the Golden Giant threw its fist. Its fist contained a power that could affect the origin soul. Wang Lin already knew this from what he had observed. At this moment, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and restrictions immediately appeared around him. A large amount of restrictions appeared around him, all densely stacked together. In an instant, they split and surrounded the area. The moment the Golden Giant closed in, these restrictions flew out with a point of Wang Lin's finger. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he said, "Seal." Countless restrictions swarmed out and surrounded the Golden Giant. Layer after layer of restrictions landed on the Golden Giant. By the time it got close to Wang Lin, it could no longer move and was completely sealed by Wang Lin. Ever since Wang Lin landed in the square, he hadn't moved an inch. Now he coldly looked at Russell, completely ignoring the Golden Giant that was 3 inches away that was sealed in its punching motion. He turned around and walked away. His black hair floated as he turned around and his white robe made him look elegant. Although his appearance was ordinary, he had an unspeakable temperament about him. To pass the first trial so easily caused all the surrounding cultivators to focus. Xu Ting looked at Wang Lin and his eyes flashed red. 11 Zifeng's heart pounded like crazy and her face turned slightly red when she looked at Wang Lin. It was as if the events of the Thunder Celestial Realm were unfolding before her once more. This person's restrictions are very strong. The 6-fingered cultivator frowned as he looked at the Golden Giant that was sealed. There was also that big-headed boy. Although he still revealed a foolish smile, there was a coldness within that smile. Russell's face sank like water as he stared at Wang Lin. He remembered 2 days ago when he came out of closed-door cultivation and heard something that angered him greatly. His brother was killed in the transfer array in the Thunder Celestial Realm by someone named Xu Mu. This Xu Mu was currently at the Thunder Celestial Temple and was a participant in the Celestial Title competition. Russell's eyes became cold. He didn't want to kill this person here, but he wouldn't let this Xu Mu pass the first trial. After Xu Mu is transferred away from the Thunder Celestial Temple, that is when he will kill Xu Mu. As Russell let out a cold snort, his divine sense surged out and the sealed Golden Giant shined brightly. It was as if an infinite amount of power had been injected into it, and the restrictions around it collapsed one by one. The Golden Giant took a step and then a giant, golden sword appeared in its hand. It swung the giant, golden sword at Wang Lin. At the same time as Russell's divine sense surged out, not only did the Golden Giant with the sword grow until it was more than 1,000 feet tall, 2 more Golden Giants appeared above the square. They also charged toward Wang Lin. The 3 Golden Giants were so fast that they created a storm as they rushed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes turned fierce and cold and he quickly retreated. His hands formed seals and restrictions appeared to block one of the giants. At the same time, he raised his right hand and mercilessly chopped down on another giant. Dozens of heavenly chops immediately appeared. They went through the restrictions and headed toward the second giant. As for the third giant, Wang Lin took a step and raised his right hand. The Wither Dao pair suddenly shined and an evil aura suddenly filled the heavens and earth. The third Golden Giant immediately dimmed and grey light flashed. Wang Lin didn't hesitate. His 2 fingers formed a sword and pointed at the Golden Giant's body. The Golden Giant collapsed with a bang. At the same time, with the combination of restrictions and heavenly chops, the other 2 Golden Giants also collapsed. However, just as the three golden giants collapsed, Russell moved. This was the first time he had moved outside of using his divine sense. He moved like lightning. It was simply too fast, and as he closed in on Wang Lin, he pointed his finger toward him. When this finger went out, Russell used his full cultivation. His mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivation suddenly surged out from his finger. Wang Lin's eyes came cold. It was too late to retreat, so he opened his mouth and spat out the celestial sealing stamp. Russell's finger pointed on the celestial sealing stamp and caused the stamp to tremble. Wang Lin immediately felt a powerful force coming from it. This force didn't affect his body, but it directly pushed his origin soul out of his body. Although it only pushed it out 3 inches, before Wang Lin pulled his origin soul back in, Russell revealed a grim smile, withdrew his finger, and retreated. Not qualified. Russell waved his big sleeve as he pointed at another person in the sky and said, "You, come down." Russell's actions could be considered risky. After all, this battle was being watched by many. However, he considered his identity special in the Thunder Celestial Temple. Moreover, he didn't feel like he had done something too out of line, so he didn't think much of it. The cultivator that Russell had pointed to in the sky didn't speak and came down. However, at this moment, Wang Lin, who was sent out more than 100 feet by Russell, revealed killing intent. Not qualified? Wang Lin had come here to participate in the Celestial title competition because he had to win and was determined to take first place. However, Russell's words had touched his bottom line. If he was really not qualified, then it was fine, but it was obvious that this Russell was deliberately failing him. Wang Lin's eyes became extremely cold as he closed in with one step. He didn't even bother looking at the cultivator that was descending. That cultivator felt a cold wind, causing his expression to change greatly and making him immediately away while complaining in his heart. "You say I'm not qualified." As Wang Lin closed in, a monstrous killing intent exploded from his body. Mid-stage Nirvana Scryer wasn't too high to climb. Wang Lin had walked down the path of slaughter ever since he began cultivating. Although he wasn't confident in beating a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator, he wouldn't be satisfied if he just left. Moreover, with Qing Shui here, Wang Lin had nothing to fear. As he rushed over, Wang Lin raised his hand and called the wind surrounded the area. As the black wind roared, it covered the sky and 2 black dragons appeared. They let out heaven-shaking roars and charged toward Russell. Russell's eyes lit up and he coldly smiled. "You dare to defy the will of the Thunder Celestial Temple?" He moved forward and his divine sense spread out. 9 golden giants immediately appeared. These 9 golden giants were all 1,000 feet tall and held large swords. They let out a roar in unison and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed like crazy. This laughter was filled with endless coldness. His right hand was raised into the air and the Karma whip appeared. As the 2 black dragons roared, the whip lashed out and thunderous rumbles echoed. The Karma whip moved like crazy and in an instant 3 golden giants collapsed. Wang Lin charged directly toward Russell with killing intent. Russell's expression changed slightly as he looked at the Karma whip. A flash of coldness appeared in Qing Shui's eyes as he muttered, "This is more like a disciple of my master by Fan." This video will end here.